Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money, with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 659 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Greg Potapenko, and he's had a program in the past called From Siberia to Success, and wow, an immigrant's online millionaire success story. We love success stories, so we'll bring him on in a minute. Now, make sure you pick up a copy of our automation ebook. This ebook we actually estimated has saved me 8 million keystrokes. It's a macro program, so you can make a couple keystrokes and fill in War and Peace if you felt like it. So that's just one of the tips in this 60-page book I'm going to give you just for listening to the show. Check it out at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. And while you're at it, pick up a copy of our podcast app at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. You can put us on your cell phone and tablet and take us with you on the road. All right, let's get to the main event. Greg P., I've seen him called a lot of times, probably people mess up his last name, Potapenko. He is a Canadian Armed Forces warrant officer. I don't know if that's still current, but that's what he was. And he's an award-winning digital marketer. He bootstrapped a 7-figure agency and 7-figure e-com brand, and he founded Enlisted, the number 2 entrepreneur.com, enlisted2entrepreneur.com. Greg, are you ready to screw the commute?
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the wonderful intro.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. So Siberia, huh? That we see it on TV all the time is where people get exiled to. What's do you remember much about Siberia?
Yeah, I mean, like I live in Toronto, Canada right now, and the climate is actually not that far different.
Really?
Except, yeah, the winter is a little longer, but it's about the same. And it was, you're right, it was an area that, in the old days, people would get exiled to, but it's the same thing you can say about Australia. It's not like that anymore. It's not just convicts. It's actually like a pretty populous region and a lot of natural resources and a lot of industry and business. But I don't remember much about it, as you rightly said, because my family left when I was actually 16 and 1 day. So right after my birthday party, we got on the plane and we left. So that's it. And
no, they speak straight Russian in Siberia?
Yes.
Do you speak?
Yes, that's my native tongue, and speak English, and also taught myself Spanish, and we're probably going to touch on that later when we go through some of the things that I've been exposed to.
Okay, so I'm going to try out Russian on you, and you see if I'm full of it or if you can even understand what I'm saying. Here we go. Ready? Как вы поживаете?
Хорошо. Yeah.
What did I say?
How it's basically like how do you do? Probably the closest meaning that but I think literally it's like, how's your life?
So is that more formal, or is that
yeah, that's quite formal. Yeah.
Okay, so if you just met somebody new, that's what you would use. Or if they were if it was a young person, would you use something
I would say it would be if you meet an acquaintance that you haven't seen in a long time, that would be and you like respect, like more like younger to an older, or like it's basically like how's life been, but like in a more formal setting. I would say it's not something you would say to a close friend, or when you just meet somebody for the first time. That would be out of context.
Yeah. Okay. So the only thing else I can remember was Ulitsa. I think that's a street or something, or
yeah, that's right.
Verskaya Ulitsa. That's what it was.
Okay, there you go. Have you been
no,
visiting?
Heck no.
Okay.
No, I was just listening to back in the day with a CD to learn Russian, and I said, man, this is hard. What was that? Is that around 1997 when you came over?
Yeah, so 97. we left and we arrived into Canada, and I've been living here in Toronto pretty much ever since. With the exception of like business travel and leisure travel, and being a little bit of a digital nomad sometimes. But
Love that. Love
yeah.
that. Now, they don't like me in Canada that much because when I first started speaking, I got a gig up in Ottawa.
Hmm.
And I'm all proud of myself. I'm an international speaker now. So I get at the border. This is years ago. And they said, "Hey, what are you doing up here?" I said, "Oh, I'm speaking. I'm all proud of myself." They said, "You getting paid?" I said, "Absolutely." They said, "Oh, is that right? Well, come on over here." In those days, you had to have a work permit. I didn't have one. They kept me 3 hours in interrogation. I missed my limo. I had to bribe my way to get out and go up there. And the meeting planner said, "Oh, you should have just lied to them." Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
actually, Tony Robbins seems to favor that similar story of how when he was starting, he had a seminar um, in Canada and figured out the same way that like he needs a work permit. So he actually hired 3 buses to shuttle people over to Niagara Falls, US, and did this seminar there to avoid
Yeah.
being thrown in jail. So it's actually a story that I've heard so many times over. So you and Tony can probably like connect over that, and you can have him as a guest.
Well, I like that. I mean, I couldn't bus anybody anywhere because it wasn't my event, but
Hmm.
I went up to Ottawa to this enormous, I think the G7 summit was there. It was an enormous wooden building. And so I forget what's Chateau Monteaubriand. Does that sound familiar? I don't know. But,
Mm,
anyway, it was
okay.
the whole thing was like a giant log cabin, this entire big complex. And I said, man, I'd love to have the termite contract on this place. So,
Yeah, that sounds like a very Canadian place.
yeah.
I don't think I've been there, but yeah, sounds legit.
Also, I heard that you worked in a gold. You had something to do with a gold mine. What's that all about?
Yeah, so for about almost 6 years, I was actually working for a company called Barrick Gold, which at the time was the biggest gold mining company in the world. They just basically went through a huge merger in 2005 and basically bought um, a similar sized company, which made them the biggest at the time. I don't know if they still are, but yeah, I I wasn't working like in down in the mines or anything, but I definitely had site visits. So I've been to these weren't underground mines, by
Yeah,
the
this
way.
is like
Like,
quarries, right? With these
yeah,
giant
they're like
machines
these
and.
giant quarries. They look
Hmm.
like giant craters and like huge trucks that are like 200, 300 tons. Um, I've been to those, and I've been up in the mountains at like 4 kilometers above sea level in the mountains of Peru and Argentina. So definitely seen my share. Lived a little bit with the miners there
Did they
for
pay
like
you in gold?
no, they paid me in Canadian dollars, and
Okay.
the pay was good, but it wasn't where I thought it needed to be, and eventually that kind of led me down the path of starting my own business. So
Now,
that's
did you save up money, or did you just quit cold turkey? How did you transition to starting your own business?
yeah. So essentially, it was a long-winded ramping up process. It was not a cold turkey. Kind of like when I quit smoking, it wasn't cold turkey. So
You
basically,
smoked? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You smoked?
yes,
Mr.
yes. I mean,
Marathon guy, triathlon guy was a smoker?
I used to smoke a pack a day, yes,
Oh my
and
God.
then
This is
I
before the
quit.
triathlons? I could
Uh,
just see a triathlon guy going down puffing a cigarette.
yeah, well, you kind of derailing the original question, but yeah, so like it was basically like the culture in Russia, especially like
Right.
in the 90s, was very unhealthy. So like that's what you would do is like you would drink heavily and you would smoke cigarettes, and
Hmm.
just basically that was it. That was life, and I brought those habits over.
Now, when did you start? Because you left there in 16. So this
Yeah,
is even younger?
like exactly like it's just the early teens, and I brought those bad habits over, and I stuck with them for a few years. But then in year 2000, I joined the Canadian military as
Hmm.
a army reservist, and that's kind of like when my wake up call was that um, they're making us. run and do PT. And I wasn't like unfit or anything, but it definitely first couple of years I was still an active smoker, but like I actually realized that in order to level up and be an effective soldier and a leader, I need to actually be fit. And I was still like one of the like I was working hard and I was smoking and running and working out, and actually was one of the fastest runners in the unit already, and
Even
still
while you were
smoking.
smoking.
That's right, yeah. But
Wow.
eventually they like a couple of years in, they saw potential in me and they sent me on like first like a para course, which
Mm-hmm.
is the airborne school here in Trenton, Ontario. And subsequently I would go to the NCO school, basically the junior leadership school, where they create like master corporals and sergeants. So I heard that both of those courses were very demanding, and that's when I kind of made a decision. You know what, I gotta quit smoking, and in order to get ready. So I got on a pretty serious prep program. Actually, at the time, the U.S. Navy had the official pre-training for Buds Navy SEALs
Mm-hmm.
available as like a document that I could download. So I basically just took that, and mine was the swimming. I did all the running and push-ups and everything, and it's like an 18-week program that works you up to be ready to go to Buds. So basically, I started doing that,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually cutting down smoking like from pack a day to like 3/4 of a pack to half a pack to like basically 2 cigarettes in a day, and then eventually it went to zero over a course of about a year.
Was
So
that one of the hardest things you ever did?
no, hell no.
No.
I mean,
Okay.
it's been 20 years, but like, no, it wasn't very hard, to be honest. Like, it was actually because I did it gradually, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, and I was pouring myself into fitness, and I was also in university as well. Getting my finance degree and serving in the military as a reservist. So I had a lot of logs in the fire, and that was just one thing that didn't serve me. It was also became very expensive actually in Canada at the time
Oh
to smoke.
boy.
Yeah, they literally like almost doubled the price of cigarettes overnight. So that was another factor. Like as a student, struggling student, immigrant, we obviously didn't have a lot of money, so spending $7-8 on a pack of smokes was actually a big hit on my daily budget. Either eat lunch or you smoke.
Yeah, and when I was a kid, there was 30 cents a pack, and I was standing next to somebody in 7-Eleven, and they spent I don't know how much on a carton of cigarettes, $35-40 or something, and I couldn't believe it. It's crazy. But there's also I was thinking when I was looking about some of your stuff, uh, the gold is one thing, but then you were a competitive shooter, and so people are always bugging me to buy gold all the time. And I said,
Hmm.
no, that's ridiculous. Buy bullets, because if you have enough bullets, you can get all the gold you want. so, so what's your competitive shooting career like?
So again, in the military, basically developed an interest for marksmanship, and we were lucky that a captain joined our unit who was actually like a very high level competitive shooter. He shot like Bisley in the UK and like all the big Commonwealth tournaments, and he stood up a shooting team for the unit, and basically for a few years he was really running a lot of those initiatives at the brigade level. So like that's when I got into that, and got coached by this person and other coaches, and actually went to compete at the national level and
Oh,
here in
wow.
Canada for my brigade team, and I've done that twice. So I did it
Nice.
in 2001 and 2003. So I spent the entire summer in 2001 at Connaught Ranges in Ottawa, actually not far from where you were probably at that log
Yeah. Now,
resort.
what kind of shooting
Um,
was it? Because there's all kinds of different shooting competitions. So what was that?
so that one is used to be called CFSAC. Now it's called CAFSAC. So basically, Canadian Forces Small Arms Competition, and they have international delegates there as well, like Americans, Brits, the Gurkhas, and a few other you know agencies come, but it's a national level
But
military
were you
style
running and
competition.
gunning, or was it
Yep.
sniper, or what is it?
I did all three disciplines. I did service pistol, service rifle, and precision rifle. I didn't do machine gun though.
Mm-hmm.
There was also that. So I have competed, yeah, in pistol, service rifle, and precision. So it was a combination of deliberate shoots and snap shoots and fire and movement. And now I've seen some of my mates. They still compete. The competition is like a lot more quote unquote tactical now. They have like different type matches like ISPC style or like shoot no shoot hostage
Mm-hmm.
style. We didn't have that at the time, but it was more like traditional target shooting. But fire and movement elements, snap shooting, deliberate was still there. So yeah, I got into the finals both years, but
Nice.
never got like any top prizes or anything. But it was still a great experience, just
Absolutely. Yeah.
learning about it and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of firearms training, the shoot no shoot stuff with the video stuff where they can
Hmm.
mess with you with the computer. That's always challenging. So when did H Hour? How did you come up with that name? And was that your first business that you bootstrapped? What's the transition into the business world?
Yeah, so before we got derailed, actually, it wasn't like my first foray into business because, believe it or not, when I came over first, in 97, I just don't know anybody, but it was my real first exposure to the internet. Like, we didn't really have the internet back in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did, but it was like only for a couple of months before we left. So I only really got to dive deep into it here in Canada. So aside from playing games and going to chats and all of that, I took an interest in HTML and I actually learned how to build web pages. I guess it was an outlet. It was more like, I guess, like early days of blogging. I wanted to just like, I was going through a lot of things, moving to a new country and losing my friends and blah blah blah. So I built like, I guess, like a sort of a blog for myself to uh, put my thoughts on, and I learned HTML, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then I kind of met some people in those chat groups and IRC chats, and basically we figured out we could actually make money on the internet. So I actually made like several $1,000s in like 98, 99, probably like 15 grand worth by essentially it was being what's called now a display publisher. So we would build websites, we would
Mm-hmm.
put banner advertising on them that would pay um, for every click that we generated, and then we would try to get traffic to those web pages
Mm-hmm.
we built. There was no search engines before. There was no Google. There was no Yahoo. Like there was like early days of like AltaVista.com
Alta
or whatever.
Vista, yeah. Ask
Yeah, so
Jeeves.
basically, like the way people found new websites, they would go to these like directories and just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's 10 new websites yesterday. So we basically like spam them every day to try to get to the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we got traffic. So obviously, it was a very rudimentary tactic, and eventually it stopped working. And but it was my first kind of like glimpse of like the real internet money. That it's actually possible to do something online and get paid for it. And then, of course, I didn't pivot at the time, and I just basically went the traditional route of you know going to university, getting a degree, serving in the army, getting a job. So I worked a couple of jobs after graduation, and I got into the gold mining company. It was good, and all as a 20 something, flying around in business class and spending months abroad in exotic locations like South America. And um, I actually flew the corporate jet a couple of times. That was actually a
Nice.
pretty cool experience. Yeah, they were good about that, but still, the pay was good, but it wasn't like really where I thought it would be. And I really tried hard to like get a different job, and I went networking and interviewing. I was working on my CFA designation, trying to get into the financial world as an investment bank or an equity analyst. I've made connections on Bay Street here in Toronto, which is like mini Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of wasn't getting in a lot of traction. And I around late 2007, basically about to have our first child, and figured out, what, like it's not it's going to be challenging basically to be able to support that in Toronto, which is not the most uh, low cost city in the world. So I was looking for yet another thing to do. Like, mind you, I was already working full time. I was working part time in the military, and I was studying my ass off the CFA program and networking. So I found myself with one more thing on my plate, which is basically online marketing. So I thought, well, I know how to build websites. Like, maybe I can do something with it. And I stumbled upon a forum where actually they were sharing how they were making money with affiliate marketing, generating leads at the time for financial products in UK. So those were like essentially second mortgages and stuff like that. And it was really crazy. Like, the lenders at the time would loan 125% of LTV, if you know what I mean. So, like, if your house is worth, £100,000, you could get £125,000. It was great. So I was, started reading the forums and kind of getting some information from the forum members, and I needed to learn how to drive traffic. So I bought a book. There was no YouTube at the time. There was no Facebook groups, none of that. So I bought a book about how to uh, run Google Ads. At the time, they were called AdWords, basically search advertising, and started experimenting with it, and essentially combining the newly acquired skill of getting search clicks to a web page that I already kind of knew how to build. I started that, and of course, that was the perfect time to start advertising financial products in 2008, because, as you know, what happened
Yeah.
is the market crashed. So the lenders stopped lending, and basically the payouts per lead from lead buyers went from $250 to $25. But I still remember, like, that first epiphany where I got my first lead, and I was actually I finished my day at the day job at the gold company. I had a workout, and I was walking over to the armory for my army duty, and I had a little BlackBerry Pearl at the time, and I got an email that you got my first lead. It was $25, and at the time the no, sorry, it was 25 pounds, which at the time was 50 Canadian dollars. And I was
Right.
on my way to my armory to report for duty and to get paid 50 Canadian dollars for basically spending the evening there. And I was like, oh my God, one lead equals to me spending an entire evening in uniform working. Wow. That was kind of the aha moment where, like, I thought, okay, you know what? Like, if I scale this could be pretty good. And it took me a couple of years. There was some things that didn't quite work out at the time, and learning the ropes. Mind, I was doing this like very part time with everything else that was going on. But essentially, by like 2010, 2011, I was making pretty much my half of my annual salary in a month or two, right?
Right.
So that's when I was finally got enough courage to actually say, you know what, I'm going to do this for real. And in October of 2011, I wrote the resignation letter while, I was actually on an airplane reading the 4 Hour Workweek book, and rereading it for the second time. And it kind of was the final straw that broke the camel's back, where I said, you know what, I need to do this now, otherwise I'm never going to do it. And I wrote the letter on the plane. There was no in-flight Wi-Fi back then, and as soon as I landed, I sent it off, and they weren't too happy about that, but it was a decision that needed to be made. So basically, yeah, that's when I incorporated my company. Before that, it was just like a sole proprietorship, then it became a corporation, and I chose the name HR. Earlier question is, it's a military term that signifies essentially the moment when the action begins in a mission. So if,
Oh,
like, you remember the D-Day operation in
yes.
World War
Yeah,
II,
I was thinking
Allies landing. So
yeah.
the D-Day had an H hour, which is basically the moment when actually the operation commenced. So that was it. So that's how I chose the name.
Beautiful. Yeah. Now, was that the agency, or because you mentioned two different things? You have a 7-figure agency and a 7-figure ecom brand.
Yeah, so originally it started as an affiliate marketing business, and once I got enough experience with advertising, affiliate campaigns, I took on a few clients directly, helping them run their ads. And so it's basically a performance marketing agency where we run ads for clients either in their own ad account or on an affiliate or partnership basis, where we drive the traffic and we get paid by the results we generate, like leads or downloads, installs, purchases, whatever. The e-com stuff, it was actually something we started in around 2016, 2017, when like Shopify started to become more of a household name, and it became really easy to sell physical products online. So started experimenting with it, and basically ended up opening a few Shopify stores. And basically the agency ran them as internal clients, so like we already had the infrastructure in place for like buying ads and creating landing pages and ads and videos and graphics and whatnot. So it was literally just almost like creating an internal client. And yeah, I was able to scale a couple of those products to just over $3 million in overall sales. And it was a cool experience as well.
Beautiful. Now, what's enlisted to entrepreneur.com?
So great question. It's something that I felt compelled to do for quite some time. I would want to say about 4 or 5 years now. Basically, I think if you know Alex Charfin, he calls it the call for contribution, but essentially it's like a desire to kind of give back somehow. And really feel strongly about the military community, especially like the entrepreneurs. So the military entrepreneurs is the intersection of those two, and I felt like maybe I can share some of the knowledge that I gained over the last almost 15 years now with somebody who's either starting out or early stage. And I got started as a mentor with a local Canadian nonprofit. Actually, it's a Commonwealth-based nonprofit, but they have a chapter in Canada which focuses on one-on-one mentoring of veteran entrepreneurs with business mentors. The mentor doesn't have to be a veteran, but it's nice. So I've done a couple of engagements there, and then I thought, well, this is great. How can I do more of it and at scale? So that's when I started the Enlisted to Entrepreneur. It's basically like a free Facebook group where I share some of my learnings along the way. There's like some recorded trainings about how to get started in digital marketing and e-commerce, and some other lessons. And slowly trying to build an engaged, tight-knit community of business builders with a military background. So that's what it is.
Really great to give back. Yeah, for sure. Now, what are some of the mistakes that you see new entrepreneurs and veteran entrepreneurs making when they try to get started?
Mistakes, to be honest, never end. I still make them often, and I'm still learning every day. Like that's one thing. Like I guess the biggest mistake is like you stop learning, because we had a term in the military, skill fade. So it's very real in fast-paced business such as digital marketing, e-commerce. So you have to stay on top of things, and sometimes you do fall behind. So that's a bit of a mistake if you're kind of further along the way. But when you start out, I think a lot of people, especially like with no prior business experience or training, they go after ideas that like don't have a product market fit. I think that's probably the biggest problem, because you can get a lot of things wrong, but if you get your product market fit right, a lot of things still take care of itself. Like I've seen somebody with like a really horrible website, like a basic Facebook ad that they shot, with their iPhone in their hand, like a selfie video, and the website looked worse than the websites I was building in '97 in Notepad, honestly. And he still was able to sell $500,000 worth of product because he invented like a really cool toy during COVID when people were stuck at home with kids and didn't know like how to entertain those kids. So like the timing was right and the product market fit was right, and the product was actually good. So with very rudimentary marketing, that person was able to get really good results. Whereas if somebody goes after an idea that has no legs, then they can have the best ads in the world. They can have the best looking funnel in the world, the best looking website, and still fail. So I think that's where a lot of that um, happens.
Yeah, we call them CSIs, and everybody thinks it's the TV show, but no, it's crappy, stupid idea. And everybody's ideas are crappy and stupid unless they can prove they aren't with real numbers. So
Mm-hmm.
keyword research and market research and everything before they put money into all these websites. And I've made fortunes on what they call ugly websites because the
Mm-hmm.
product was a high need, reasonably priced, and was sold like crazy. And especially if you can do digital products. I know you're talking about Shopify, but digital products are 97% profit, gross profit. So you can make even more mistakes and still make money if you're careful. So we got to take a brief sponsor break. When we come back, we'll ask Greg what a typical day looks like for him and how he stays motivated. So, folks, about 25 years ago, I kind of turned the internet and digital marketing world on its head, and the guys at my level were charging 50 or $100,000, mostly guys, to teach what they knew to small business people. And if you gave some of these people 50 grand, they'd be hiding out in Siberia because they'd screw you over. So I said, that's too risky for small business people. I said, I'm going to flip this upside down. So I just charged an entry fee, and then I tied my success to their success. So for me to get my 50 grand, you have to net 200 grand. Well, people really like this idea, and 1,700 plus students later over all these years, the program is still going strong. It's the longest running, most unique, most successful internet and digital marketing program ever. And I dog dare anybody to put their program up against mine. They won't do it because I'm a crazy fanatic. So you get a immersion trip to the retreat center in Virginia Beach. We have our own TV studio. It's all one-on-one. You're not lumped in with people more advanced or less advanced. You have access to my whole crew that I've trained. It's very, very powerful. And plus, we have the only licensed, dedicated internet and digital marketing school in the country, probably the world, but for sure the USA. And we give a big discount. We give scholarships to military, first responders, law enforcement, and nurses, and very powerful and portable skill, especially for our military folks. So anyway, check out the mentor program at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, and check out the school at imtcva.org, imtcva.org. All this stuff and Greg's stuff will be in the show notes. And then if you are military, put /military after the school, and you can see all the veterans we've helped. All right, let's get back to the main event. We're here with Greg Potapenko from Siberia to Success. I love that title of one of his programs in the past. And Greg, what's a typical day look like for you? What time do you get up? What do you eat? Do you have a morning routine? How's it run for you?
Well, I don't have a set routine per se, but I do have 3 children, so a lot of the
They make the routine, I guess.
yeah, a lot of the schedule does revolve around
Mhm.
the times when they need to be dropped off at school, picked up, dropped off at at the night
How old are they?
school, 14, 12, and 4. So
Okay.
basically between their schedules, that's where I need to make mine.
Mhm.
So yeah, like aside from that, basically I do make sure that every day there's some sort of physical training incorporated.
Are you still
Uh,
running the marathons and stuff?
um, I'm mostly into triathlons for the
Triathlon.
last 5 years. So I
Mhm.
did run before 2018, and then 2018 I started doing triathlons. So I actually run less now and spend a little bit more time in the water and on the bike because I
Mhm.
haven't really done that before 2018. But yeah, definitely I try to incorporate some sort of physical training at least on a daily basis. I do feel bad if I skip a day, and just try to get to work as soon as possible in the morning, like after getting getting everybody to where they're supposed to go. Just sit down and crank out 5, 6, 7 hours of work before I need to get up and go pick them up again. So that's kind of
And when are you doing your workouts?
In the evenings, because usually that's the time when other parents are waiting around for their children, like to do their night classes, like typing on their phones. I just go to the gym or go for a run or for a ride or something. So that's what works for me. Basically, that's not not the only way of doing it, but that's what I kind of over the years the routine that I created.
Yeah, we love to hear all the different stories of people have made it in so many different ways. So I love to hear your stories. So how do people get a hold of you?
So you can get a hold of me personally through most of the popular social media right now by simply searching for my name, Greg Potapenko. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, um, and
Let me spell that to make sure. Greg, Greg Potapenko, correct?
that's correct. So yeah, you can find me with that name on most social media platforms, or like if you prefer to go by the social media handle, so it's HHOUR 48 at Instagram and Twitter. And if you
Did
do
you say
want to,
48?
correct, yeah,
HHOUR 48. Okay.
yeah. So those are my personal profiles, and if you are interested in checking out what my agency can do, you
Mm-hmm.
can go to h-hour.agency to check out our performance marketing. And if you're a military entrepreneur or thinking of transitioning into becoming an entrepreneur after the military, then yeah, the project for enlisted to entrepreneur is still open. Just go in and join the group and go through the training and check it out. So
Beautiful.
that's it.
Beautiful. Well, thanks so much for coming on, folks. I want Greg Potapenko, Potapenko. You have HHour48 on the social media, and you have HHour.agency if you're thinking about running ads and you want
Yeah,
some.
there's a dash h-hour. So
Oh, is that in all the
yeah,
things? Or just
in the domain names, because
domain name
somebody, yeah,
h-hour.agency. And then for veterans, go to enlisted, the number 2, entrepreneur.com. So great meeting you, Greg. I don't think I know anybody else from Siberia, so you're the one. and we thank.
yeah. Or you can call me the man from Toronto, like the movie, the Netflix movie that just came out
Oh,
about a month
okay.
ago. That was a pretty hilarious one, actually.
The man from Toronto. All
Yeah,
right.
check it out.
So thanks so much for coming on. Folks, check out all Greg's stuff, and we will catch you on the next episode. See you later.
Thanks, Tom.